OSU Extension beef cattle specialist Dr. Dave Lalman recently gave us a behind-the-scenes look at what goes on at the OSU Forage testing lab. And this week, he's following up, talking about what the results look like when you receive them.
I'm David Lalman. I'm an Extension beef cattle specialist at Oklahoma State University. It's that time of year when the forage is growing rapidly, it's lush and green, and quality is as high as it's going to be all year. Just a few weeks ago, we talked about having forage samples analyzed for mineral content, and we can get about 10 different minerals from our forage laboratory here at the Oklahoma State Lab for about $15 a sample. And so, as we go through the grazing season, quality is going to vary substantially. This time of year, most of the mineral concentrations will be as high as they're going to be all year. In an extensive survey of forages several years ago, we found that the primary minerals to be concerned about for beef cattle in Oklahoma tend to be phosphorus, sometimes zinc, and a high percentage of the time copper. And so certainly we'd encourage people to take a look at those concentrations in their forages. We analyzed 3 different forages, very different in quality, just a few weeks ago. We looked at fresh or lush wheat pasture, native range there kind of towards the end of March, or tallgrass prairie if you want to think of it that way, and then also some really nice high quality Bermuda grass hay. And what we saw in those samples was that the phosphorus content was adequate, as you'd expect, in the wheat pasture forage, and it was also adequate in the nice quality Bermuda grass hay. And that's very consistent with what we normally see. Although the phosphorus content of the late season tallgrass prairie was very low. So certainly later in the growing season, when the concentration of phosphorus declines in tallgrass prairie forage like switchgrass or Indian grass, big blue stem, little blue stem, those concentration of phosphorus is going to decline substantially, and that's what we saw in this little demonstration. 0.1, and the cow's requirement is about 0.2, so it's only providing about half of what that cow, a lactating cow, requires. And so, anytime when the forage quality and that native grass in particular is getting lower due to either drought or the time of the year, that would be the time when you'd want to be supplying a mineral supplement fortified with phosphorus, such as something 8, maybe up to 12% phosphorus. Also, we looked at the zinc and the copper concentration of that wheat, the Bermuda grass, and that native range forage. And as you would expect, the wheat pasture was really pretty high in zinc concentration. Surprisingly, it was below the animal's requirements in copper. Just about 6 parts per million. A beef cow requires about 10 parts per million. On the other hand, the zinc concentration was adequate in the wheat pasture, it was adequate in the Bermuda grass, and surprisingly, it was adequate in the native range forage as well. But the copper concentration in that native range was very low at only 3 parts per million. And again, the cow's requirement is about 10 parts per million. So the results from those samples were much what we'd expect based on previous surveys of common forages in Oklahoma. It's very common for phosphorus to be deficient in any type of tallgrass prairie forage, especially later in the grazing season and during winter. It's also very common for copper and occasionally for zinc to be deficient in forages that are common throughout the state of Oklahoma. And so, therefore you'd want to be looking for mineral supplement products that would be fortified and meet those requirements. We have a fact sheet available that goes through all of those details relative to the mineral concentration you would expect in very common forages here in Oklahoma, and also providing an adequate supplement, mineral supplement to a beef cow during different parts of the year. We'll put a link to those at the SUNUP website, sunup.okstate.edu.